All right, it's about that time of year. This video is for my Hebrew roots peeps. Anybody that knows my testimony knows that I started out in a Book of Acts community, that, we kept the Torah, we kept the feast, we actually lived in community. And I have kept the feast on and off for about 16 years. And Passover is coming up. And Passover is a wonderful feast day. What I, in my in the teachings you can go down, and I have two teachings and then a climax to that. It's called the Pitfalls of Hebrew Roots, part 1, part 2, and then I have a video called Salutations, and it outlines my 16 years, what to look out for, and the absolute insanity that you're going to find in this movement, because some of the most crazy, lunatic, fringe people I've ever met are in Hebrew roots. So I'm kind of advising against Hebrew roots in a lot of ways. Even though I keep the feast every year I fly out to a 400-acre resort and keep tabernacles. I buy the most expensive beer. I hang out with my friends. We camp. We do all those wonderful things, okay? Passover, whether I'm in a congregation or I just keep a Seder by myself, I do it as a memorial. Don't listen to any, this is for those of you that are just starting out in this and you're kind of flirting with the feast days. I gave that teaching to kind of keep you away from some of the demonic doctrines and the people in these movements that are well-meaning. But as far as the Passover, there's evidence in the early church they kept it. I go to church on Sunday during first fruits the same week as Passover on Easter. My church don't have Easter bunnies. They don't lie to their kids. I have no problem going to a glorified worship on the Sunday of first fruits and calling it Resurrection Sunday. You got all these really religious folks out there that get real deep into that. And listen, for those of you that are just starting out, have fun. Don't listen. My first year, I kept 3 different Passovers, including the Exodus 12 Passover. Where dude actually took a lamb inside of his house for 2 weeks. Everything that book says we did. It wasn't a sacrifice, but they showed his children on how the lamb was kept, how Yeshua was a lamb. And it was great. It was absolutely fantastic. I kept 3 different feasts because I'm single with no kids and I can afford to do that. But don't get caught up in all of the religious nonsense. Any dude that tells you got to keep the feast days on the right day, or if you don't keep them, you're going to burn in hell, run like the wind from these people. They're very carnal people. Like I said, I don't base doctrine off near-death experiences. But in 16 years, I have never seen one heaven experience or one hell experience of anybody that went to hell for not eating a matzah cracker. I've never seen one for people putting a Christmas tree in there. Now, I don't do Christmas trees. I've already been through this before, but people major on the minors, and a lot of these people that tell you're going to hell for this, they got a porn list a mile long. They're abusive to their wives. I've seen it all in this movement. So with that being said, just, enjoy it as a practice, meaning you cannot keep it fully. Anybody tells you so is a liar. There was an oral law. Okay, it's been perverted. There was a priesthood, but you just can't. Okay, I've been in congregations where they didn't believe in taking the leaven out of your house. I've been in congregations where they believed in a Passover Seder. There's congregations that, think baking soda is leaven and beer is not leaven. There's people that follow all the religious, there's different, even in Judaism, there's the Sephardi. The Sephardi believe different things are classified as leaven. Don't sit there and waste hours of your day studying what hametz is. What does it rise? Is this rise? Is this Jewish, definition of hametz? Is this just being religious? Just don't get caught up in that. Listen, if you want to take the leaven out of your house, treat it as an exercise, meaning when you're cleaning out whatever you think is leaven at the time, because it's going to change, it's pasta, yeast, whatever, as you're taking it out of your house, be consciously aware of the sins that you're trying to get out of your life. The hypocrisy, the leaven of the Pharisees, religious spirits. Because a lot of people in these movements, and that's what I go through in my teachings, a lot of them, not all, because once you've reached a certain point and you've been through the inner sanctification of those 3 feasts in your own spirit, you do it for fun. It's great. But there's a lot of people that are still in, like I said, they're still in the wilderness of sin. They're still just got through the Passover. They haven't reached Pentecost. There's different people at different stages. And what happens is a lot of them keep these feasts because they're religious and they want another excuse to have a check mark to say, I do this and you over here, you don't do this. So I'm better than you. And this is the problem in Hebrew roots, because it indentures to a lot of self-righteousness and it indentures to a lot of mind candy and a lot of Baptist types and Jehovah's Witness types, and they just change church and they come over here and they get a little knowledge and then they beat people over the head. We call them Torah terrorists. You know, they're looking for an excuse to put you under their law, or they want to elevate themselves. And, you know, like baby Christians, you know, we all kind of have done this at one time. We'll go, well, I keep the Sabbath and you don't, or I eat clean and you don't. So therefore, it's just another way of pride to elevate yourself as somehow better than the other people that don't. And then, like I said, 5 years ago, these people were putting Christmas trees in their house and lying to their kids. And we all go through it. I call it the prodigal syndrome. Is once you become righteous and stuff and you get your mind renewed, you turn into the older brother in the parable, and then you forget what it's like to be wicked, and then you think you're more higher, you think higher of yourself than you're not. And then some of these people that are in this movement, they were just raised religious and they want more mind candy to stack up so they can be better than you. But anyway, I've done enough bashing of Hebrew roots in those two teachings. What I'm trying to say is really analyze yourself. When you're cleaning out your house from your leaven, clean out your own house, do some deliverance and clean out that house. That's one thing Hebrew roots don't like to touch with a 10-foot pole, is the casting out of demons. But, you know, for the 7 days, you know, people are like, well, what do I do? Go to a service for 7 days, every day, get up, you know, eat your unleavened crackers, you know, meditate on the word, you know, go to a holy convocation. If you can't, like I said, you know, I'm in a place right now where I can't just travel every year. I have one big trip for Tabernacles that cost an arm and a leg. But for like, I just do a Seder by myself, and I go get a Seder Haggadah. You can look that up online, and you just read through the Passover story, and you do the little, it's a tradition. Like I said, you cannot keep the Passover. It's impossible without a standing, these are memorials. Just like putting a Coleman tent in your backyard and drinking beers on the Tabernacles is a memorial. Most people don't even build a booth. You're supposed to build a booth. I mean, when the first years I kept Passover, like I said, I was hardcore about it. I was telling people not to leave the gates. I wanted to have sandals on and a staff. And, you know, we did the lamb, we did the Seder, I had 3 different ones each year. I kept 3 different tabernacles. It was a great time. And I still believe in doing it. But what you got to understand is, for you newbies that are getting into this, just stay away from the super religious people and just have fun with it. It's not a salvation issue. I don't care what nobody tells you. Don't let no liar come and tell you you're going to burn in hell because you didn't keep Passover this year. They're liars. Now, you should obey but like I said, I mean, if you're talking about, you know, an Easter bunny in your house and you're lying to your kids, that's sinning, you know. I mean, like, but I'm saying you should be wanting to, you know, keep something like Passover, because there is early evidence in the early church even that they kept it, you know. So have fun. Like I said, I don't keep Christmas, but I go to church on December 25th, and I don't give a damn who says anything about it. You know, we've got so many religious folks out there that think that they know Yah because of their religious practices, and their hearts haven't even really been circumcised yet. When your heart's circumcised, you want to be with brothers and sisters, no matter if it's a Christmas or Hanukkah or Passover. And there's a whole bunch of religious people that don't keep Hanukkah either because it's not a commanded feast. You got to, listen, in your journey, just analyze why you're doing the things you do. Why the motives do you want to keep Passover? It's the same thing that I'm probably going to do a video some other time on your motives behind, you know, I've seen testimonies of people that go to hell. They were giving and doing all for the wrong motives. Why are you wanting to keep the feast? Are you keeping the feast just, I mean, if you want to be obedient, that's great, but are you using it as a beating stick to beat all the rest of the Christians that aren't as good as you because they go to church on Sunday and they keep Easter? Is that why you're doing it? Because that ain't gonna count for nothing. That's gonna be in vain. So, like I said, this is a quick video for my Hebrew roots peeps, because I know I got a lot, and the movement is growing substantially in the past 16 years. And 16 years ago, it wasn't even really that big. Now it's everywhere. But the problem is, like I said in my Hebrew roots teaching, is Yah is a river. And as the river comes downstream, you get all these little side rivers. Now you got lunar Sabbath, sun up, sundown Sabbath. This is a duck clean. You're going to get all these different doctrines, and it gets more polluted as you go down the stream. Because if you're trying to earn your salvation by these feasts, or you think that you're special in God's eyes, when I haven't seen not one person that he'd turn away and throw them into hell because they kept a feast day. If you're doing it for those reasons, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. In fact, it will actually strengthen your pride and religious spirit. Because there is nothing I've seen in this movement. I've seen more people turn away from Jesus and become Jews or become self-righteous religious Pharisees in this movement that I've ever seen in Christianity. Just saying. I mean, there's people that worship and idolize the Sabbath, not Jesus. They most of them don't even keep it. They sit around in the house on Saturday. They call it a rest day. They don't do any holy convocations. They say you can't keep the feast. There's every kind of mix-up in this movement. So just enjoy the Passover, but do it for the right reasons. Examine your heart as you're doing it. You know, like I said, it doesn't matter if you want to do a Passover Seder. Don't let some religious clown tell you that that's some Jewish tradition and the Talmudic Jews came and you're going to go to hell for. No. If you want to just sit there and eat crackers and wash I did foot washing. If you want to wash your feet, wash the feet of your children, just do a private thing in your own home. Do that. Just take the day off work, put on some teachings for the day and just meditate on the word and meditate what he did for you when he did that. It's technically not, the Passover is not really a celebratory feast. Now, the Feast of Unleavened Bread for 7 days can be, but that the night of, it's a very sovereign. We used to do foot washings and stuff. It's a very somber occasion, But man, enjoy yourself. Like I said, I'm just here to make some content about this stuff and give you a couple teachings on what to avoid. I think that everybody should keep the feast. They're wonderful. I don't understand why modern Christianity has not adopted them yet. Because there's this crazy notion that if you keep a feast somehow, they twist Paul's words in Galatians that you're just going to burn in hell. But with that being said, there is a lot of people that start that way, just keeping feasts, and then they put themselves right under the law and the letter of the law, and they become religious devils. The law magnifies sin. It also magnifies what kind of spirit you got a lot of times, because a lot of these really religious people, when you notice they get into the Torah, they turn into some of the most demonic, self-righteous Pharisees you'll ever see. Anyway, I'm done rambling. Just felt like doing this one because the Passover is coming up. I will be keeping it privately in my own home. Like and subscribe. And again, for the people that are just tuning in, check out my Pitfalls of Hebrew Roots teachings. It'll really help you, and it'll help you avoid a lot of the BS in this movement.